For all of your other sessions, I feel like there's been a lot of listening. So in this session, you're going to do some doing instead. So that's why your tables are littered with Post-its and pens and big sheets of paper. As a former teacher, I can't get away from my love of Post-its and big paper and pens. So today's session is about the physical health, the holistic well-being and physical health of children in care. I feel a bit wrong doing this, but my name's Nicola Espash, and I'm a designated nurse for children in care and care leavers. If you were in the session this morning, you will have seen me already turn around and say, I'm completely out of my depth. I'm not a chief executive. I'm not someone who makes massive decisions, but I do care for 1,500 children in my day job across our area. So I was asked about 18 months ago to come and join Fatima in this campaign, and here we are. When she said to me, would you like to run a breakout room? I thought it would be a small room in a cupboard somewhere down the hall with about 10 people. I had no idea I would be in here with all of you guys here today. So thank you for coming and joining us. We're joined by some esteemed colleagues in the NHS with me today. So I'm going to pass the microphone round and get everyone to introduce themselves with a kind of just a brief bit of what they do in the NHS and how they are influencing our children's lives, our systems, our policies, our processes to make sure that the physical health of children are also front and centre of everything we do. So I'm going to pass over to Gemma.
Hello everybody, my name's Gemma Shannon. I am a Deputy Designated Nurse for Children in Care and Care Leavers. So my background is a Specialist Nurse for Children in Care, Health Visitor, but my experience as well has also been fortunate to work in Tier 4, Tier 3 and management within CAM services. So I've really privileged to be able to use that experience in my current role as Nicola's deputy. So thank you, it's lovely to meet you all.
Thank you. My name is Nicola Mundy. I'm Child Wellbeing Professional Lead for Learning from Child Death. So I sit in the Child Death Review team, which is a statutory function that sits in each locality in England. And Nicola used to work with us in Surrey, but she's moved now to Bristol, sadly, for everyone in Surrey. And I sit in Surrey Heartlands ICB.
Hi, I'm Arvind. I'm a paediatric kidney doctor at Southampton Children's Hospital, led on some work nationally on transition for children and young people with long-term health conditions, and also link in with the young adult group in the Kidney Association. So anything we do for the young adults also goes down towards the younger children from cradle, and it goes up to the older group for old age as well. It's all about patient empowerment and transition. We've also set up a charity called Ready, Steady, Go, Hello. Hopefully you all like that. It's cute. The patients liked it, and it's just about making a difference. That's for doing all the touchy-feely stuff that the NHS can't provide, but we've also got a working group as well, and I'm hoping that when we give the talk that you guys can see how a lot of it can also be used for looked after children and see if we can break down the silos. So this is what we all agreed to, so that's why I'm saying it, and I'm talking a bit longer. Just break down the silos between education, health and social care, because I think that is really, really important, and hopefully you'll be inspired to do that. But before we do, just because we might, the ladies at the back there want me to mention a blow job, so I just want to make sure that there's nobody under the age of 18 here. Is that all right? Are you, yes, I only wish I looked like you at 16, but yes, okay, that's fine. So there will be a little bit of sex, but not much. That's what I say to my husband every night.
Thank you. Right, follow that one if you can. So first of all, obviously, every workshop I ran yesterday and then today is under the banner of holistic well-being. So the first thing kind of to do is just get a kind of understanding of what people's ideas are of what holistic well-being means to you or to those that you are looking after as well. So just on your tables, have a quick kind of 10 seconds about what you think it is that holistic well-being means to you. Have a quick chat. I'll call you in. Yeah, you can just sit and relax. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so bringing conversations to a close. Is anyone in the room feeling brave enough to shout out some of the words and discussions that you might have had about that? Anyone fancy just shouting out what it means? Holistic well-being. Nature. Brilliant. Anyone else? Nature. Exercise. Yeah, so physical, mental, emotional, everything around you that makes you. That's beautiful. I love that. Spiritual well-being, yeah. Anything else? Yeah, outdoors, absolutely. Alternative, yeah. There's so many things. So a lot of the tools that you see online will kind of capture those. So you've got your physical, your emotional, your mental, social, environmental, which we've mentioned. Intellectual is another one. So feeling like you're learning is always quite important to how you feel with your well-being for many people. Your occupational, so feeling like you have a purpose. Financial, because that causes people undue stress when their finances are shaky or non-existent. So obviously that contributes massively to your well-being. And then the final one that people have on the list is spiritual, whatever that may be and whatever that may look like for you. That's really important for our well-being too. Now, children in care are often facing poorer outcomes for physical health compared to their peers. And this is partly due to the circumstances in which led them to come into care. So if they have faced abuse or neglect, then that can have a massive impact on your growth and development in your early years. And there might also be frequent moves, which can make it difficult to track your history, which in turn stops you having the same access as others to those health systems that you then find yourself in when you were originally, say, for instance, in Bristol and you find yourself in Aberdeen. So some of the key factors that I kind of recognised when I was thinking about what it meant for physical health for children in care specifically was that past experience, the specific needs to conditions. So children in care are still children, so they will face the same physical conditions that other children would too, things like asthma, eczema, diabetes, those kind of physical conditions you live with over the long term. I've already mentioned the frequent moves, but also socioeconomic factors. So they may not have the same access to things that some people who have more wealth would be able to. So if you're sat on a waiting list for a very long time, some people are able to pay to access that quicker, and that's not afforded to our children in care. Dental health is another one. So either they may have had poor dental health from the care they experienced before, or it could be that with the frequent moves or not having someone to show them how to care for their teeth necessarily, that can impact. And dental health quite often leads to pain, doesn't it? And pain leads to how you feel and how your mental well-being is and how you react to others. So there was one child I worked with many years ago who was really, really difficult for the staff to work with. They tried their best, absolutely just didn't want to know anything. They took them to the dentist, they had some of their caries fixed, and they were like a different child the other side. They were willing to kind of be a part of the family unit that they were living in. They were able to relax, they were able to sleep better, they were able to concentrate, they were able to smile. Yeah, all of those things that's just, you go, oh, it's just teeth. But actually, they are such an integral part of how you are being, who you are, and how you present yourself to the world around you. Collaboration is always key. Training and support. So I mentioned earlier about the young man who has made our video for all of our health services, talking about his journey through the health services locally to make it really impactful for staff. And I've talked a lot about mental health, and I know I mentioned the ways in which we can talk about that, but it's also about that front loading of mental health to make sure that we are supporting the children in care before the crisis comes. So those broken attachments for children as they enter the care system, they've either come from a loving family and we've broken that attachment by bringing them to care, or they had broken attachments or difficult attachments or unstable attachments, and that's what's brought them into care themselves. And that in itself gives you a shaky identity because you don't know who you are or where you are or what you're doing. And so there's a natural way of trying to understand who you are and where you fit in the world. So if we could set up our services that as children come into the care system, we're already talking to them about who they are, who they want to be, what are their aspirations, what is it that makes them feel healthy, how can we make them feel better, is it that they really like sport, so let's get that in as well, because all of that is that global well-being. The role modelling is another thing that our doctor locally is really passionate about, that role modelling of staff who are supporting them in the residential homes, of the foster carers that they're living with, of the families that they're with. That role modelling is really important because ultimately that's where we all learn how to be and how to keep ourselves healthy. And then the final one is about health assessments, and for that I'm going to pass over to Gemma.
Thank you. I was just really interested to know who here is aware that every child in care is entitled to a statutory health assessment. Wow. That's just blown my mind. It really has, and that's something that I will be taking away. So every single child in care has a right and should 100% be having a statutory health assessment. So they get, when they first go into care, they have an initial health assessment by a paediatrician. That paediatrician does a very thorough, holistic health assessment, and that's the initial health assessment. And they do an action plan. And then after that, if the child is 0 to 5, they have a review health assessment every 6 months. And after, in that review health assessment, one of the questions should be, has everything been actioned from the initial health assessment? That should be the first thing. We should be going back and going, have all these actions from the initial health assessment been completed? And if not, why not? And then they need to be put into the new action plan on the review health assessment. And now if they're over 5, they get a yearly review health assessment. So every child in care should be accessing their child in care specialist nurse. So, I mean, it's just blown my mind. So if you are working with children, you need to know that they have got a child in care. We run into difficulties sometimes, and that's work that we're doing regarding mental health and health, but the lead health professional is the child in care specialist nurse. Every child has a named nurse responsible for them, and every child has a designated nurse and a deputy if they're lucky. So it's just really important that you take that away. So if you have a child and you've got any concerns about their health whatsoever, you can go to the social worker and you can say, can we have a look at their review health assessment, please? Let's see if it's there. And if the health concern that you have isn't on that review health assessment, we can say, well, why not? Let's get in touch with that child in care specialist nurse and make sure that that health need is put on their action plan and that we are following all the actions that are on there. Is that okay? Thank you.
That review health assessment then goes into that child's care plan generally. So their independent reviewing officer will have sight of that plan and should be making sure that all of those needs are followed through. And that is anything down to things like sleeping, toileting, and there's 100 million other things on there, and I'm not going to give them to you because that's the next activity. So on your table, you have a collection of Post-it notes, there's some pens, there's also a lot of other stuff from people who are trying to advertise. So if you could wade yourself through those, find the Post-its that are on the table. Many tables also have a big piece of paper with an age bracket at the top. So there are 4 different brackets I've given you. There is 0 to 5, 6 to 11, 11 to 18, and care leavers. In your groups, I want you to think about the young people that you have seen or worked with or heard about or whatever capacity you're in. What are the key physical health needs that you can think of for those young people? Write it on the Post-it note, stick it on the paper, and I'll tell you what we're going to do with it next. Thank you.